to another edition of Real Estate Investor Talk. It is Neil Peterson, founder of REIM Media, publishers of Real Estate Investor magazine. I have the unique privilege of meeting a number of successful businessmen, investors, and who have got inspirational stories to tell you and share with us. I've met a number of people from the likes of Donald Trump, Saul Kerzner, to a number of other people that have been really successful. I'm happy here to share their strategies with you today through Real Estate Investor magazine. And in the latest January edition for 2014, we have a story about Hulet T. Gregory. Hulet T. Gregory is an American. But what I like about his story is that Hulet actually started off in the corporate world, and he wanted to break out the corporate world, and he wanted to become a self-sustained investor and entrepreneur. Listen to Hulet's story. There's wonderful things that we can use and that we can apply to become better investors, to improve our lives, and to inspire other people.
When I was 33, I was pretty burnt out. I was an executive at Wells Fargo, making a pretty good salary, about $130,000 a year. But I was pretty desperate to get out of the corporate world in the U.S. and I don't know how that compares to your country, but I turned to real estate. I know I was sort of a serial entrepreneur. Went to different stock market, multi-level marketing, network marketing, and just one dead end after another, and bought my first piece of real estate in the hopes of my goal was to replace my salary. And to replace a $130,000 salary, I knew after buying my first house it was going to take a little bit more than that. So literally in 90 days, and actually it was probably more like 6 months, I had bought 4 houses and 2 commercial office buildings, and I did that in 6 months. Now it took some capital, and I had accumulated some Wells Fargo stock over the time I've been with the company, so I sort of cashed in all my chips, and I was able to make it happen. And so today I have a portfolio of 86 houses and 17 commercial centers, and that entire portfolio is here in Memphis. I do get asked quite a lot. Eric and I was in Los Angeles last weekend at a conference, and oh, so what other markets do you guys promote? And it's Memphis, and Memphis. We do not, we're not in Atlanta, we're not in any other markets. And so once I left Wells Fargo to get into real estate full time, I was already managing my own properties. I never had another management company. I was renovating my own properties, and I was finding unbelievable deals. And you have to turn the calendar back to 2004, which is when I really got into real estate full time. And the market here in the U.S. was very strong, 04, 05, 06, even 07. And foreclosures were not good deals. We did not buy foreclosures. There was always somebody else willing to pay a lot more than I. And so we spent probably about $10,000 a month on marketing, mainly through TV advertisements. So we would run advertisements on TV that we buy houses. I had a call center in Indianapolis, which is probably about 8 hours from here. So I would have an 800 number. It's a toll-free telephone number here. I'm always cautious when I'm talking to people from other countries. I'm saying stuff they're like, "What the hell is he talking about?"
We understand you.
So it's a telephone number that shoots across the television screen, and we had the calls at a call center, and we got emailed the prospective seller, and we went through all of this to be able to buy a house at an unbelievable discount. And so we eventually was like, wow, I wonder if there's someone else that this would have value to, because obviously in business there's time and money. There's not a third, it's time and money. And so you guys, our investors we work with, hopefully they find value in what we do, and that we're doing the full turnkey investment for you, so you don't have to. And at first, we only dealt with investors here in Memphis. All the folks I started working with, they were local here, And I never thought someone that lived outside the Memphis market would have interest here, but in '07, we had a group from San Francisco that came to Memphis, and it was like, wow, what a novel idea. And so we had 13 houses available. They bought all 13 houses. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so all of a sudden in 2009, and by that time the real estate is turning for the worse, which was good for me. And not a single new investor that I dealt with in 2009 was local. Actually, and so by that time, our world here at Memphis Cash Flow and Marathon was dominated by coastal markets. Because San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle, Portland, some of the northeastern states, the housing market, is just crazy. And we see that in a lot of our international buyers. Paris, we got a few guys going to be in town tomorrow from Paris, Sydney, Australia, Melbourne, Vancouver, Canada. I mean, you look at their housing, and if you have a goal to buy real estate for cash flow, the numbers just don't work in those markets. But they do here in Memphis. And then in 2010, we had our first group of international investors from Australia that came to Memphis. And so it's just been a graduation of the markets. Obviously the dollar has weakened against foreign currency, and your currency is the rand. But 8 years ago, I believe the Australian dollar, their dollar would get 50 cents here in the United States. In 2010, it was 85 cents, and I know in 2012 it was dollar per dollar. So there's been several dynamics in the international marketplace that has attracted people or international investors to the United States, and more specifically to Memphis. And I will sit here and I could talk to you for an hour about all the positives about Memphis, Tennessee. And I will tell you just a couple highlights that are most recent. In April of this year, Wall Street Journal, probably one of the best-known business publications in the United States, named Memphis the #1 market to invest in single-family residences. 3 weeks ago, I was telling Scott and Brendan yesterday, I got a call from Bloomberg News. They were interviewing me about hedge funds. Does everyone know what a hedge fund is? And they got into real estate pretty heavy about 2 years ago, really turned it on about a year ago. And the reporter was asking me, he said, do you realize Memphis is #1 in the United States as far as the highest percentage of sales of single-family residences have been to hedge funds? Like, I didn't realize that. But 31% of all single-family residences this year, 2013, in Memphis, Tennessee, has been acquired by a hedge fund. Those guys are pretty smart. They're just not out there spending money for nothing. So Memphis has had the dynamics that makes cash flow and real estate investing very good. We have a very high percentage of our population that rents. If you have no renters, this thing doesn't work. And inevitably I get asked, and I'll share this, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike and Clifton so we can try to get you out of 10, but inevitably I'm asked, well, who is your renter? And I'm going to show you who our renter is. Our B house, and Clifton is going to share this with you, is this is just sort of our average house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot house, which, do you guys use meters?
Just about 10.
Yeah, so it's about a 150 square meter house, and maybe it's got a 2-car carport, and we're going to rent that, let's just say, for $895 to $995, and so that's what a consumer tenant would pay us. But let me show you who our tenant is. So this house, you can buy it in Memphis right now for probably I don't know, $90,000 retail. And as most of you know, the United States, we're still enjoying historically low interest rates. I mean, it is just almost free money. Matter of fact, I think, guys agree, let me know, I think we're at 4%, maybe even a hair less on a 30-year fixed. And so if a consumer went and they just, instead of dealing with Marathon Management, they went and bought this house for $90,000, probably less than a 4% interest rate, we call it PITI, that's the principal, interest, property taxes, and the property insurance. In the United States, you typically have that all in one payment that goes to the bank, and that payment is probably going to be $400, if not less. And so why in the world, we're all good guys, Eric and Mike and Clifton, we're super duper dudes, but why in the hell would you want to pay us $895 to $995 versus owning the house and paying $400? Just like Micheline says, why do they not do this? Well, they don't qualify. And with the heyday of real estate, 03, 04, 05, 06, I mean, I guess most of you know the story of the real estate in the United States, right? With subprime lending, do they know that? People were getting into houses at 100%, no money down, and they had stated income loans. Bottom line, they did not even qualify to get in the house, but the loan product was available here in our country for those people to get in, even with flawed credit bureaus. In other words, they had troubled payment histories in the past, and so anyhow, obviously it all hit the fan, and and the lending market in the United States went the other direction, where it tightened up tremendously. To where pretty much, unless you had a flawless credit bureau with no history, I can tell you this is how bad it is in the United States. And Mike came out of banking and he knows this. If you had I'm going to say you had a $300 Visa. In other words, your Visa has a $300 credit limit. And hopefully you all agree that doesn't get you a whole lot. But and let's say your minimum payment was $15 a month, and you missed that payment, you're not buying a house in the United States. Seriously.
If you missed one payment?
Absolutely, yes sir. If you had a $300 Visa and your minimum monthly payment was $15 a month, and you missed that payment, you're not buying a house in the
Wasn't that a fantastic story? If you want to know a little bit more, get the latest edition of Real Estate Investor magazine either at your bookstore, or you can also get it digitally with this particular video, which is at the back end of the digital magazine. For those of you who want to get the digital magazine every single month, you just need to go onto the website, click onto the Digimag, and you can download Real Estate Investor magazine, every single edition, on your iPhone, on your iPad, on your laptop, on your desktop, or any other device. Wherever you are in the world, you can access it. And for those people that do it by the end of March this year, you can win yourself a mini iPad. So go out now, register on the website, and we'll see you in the next edition.